Let's talk about a more personal subject. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Right Opinion, the home of a twat with too much free time. And today we're going to be talking about poetry, and how it influenced my creativity and me as a person. Now many of you will be thinking right now, hang on Mr. Right Opinion, this isn't a spicy take on the latest hot topic, this is story time with the right Mongo. Well, I'm here today by request, and a request that I'm very grateful of, and I'll expand on that at the end of the video, just not right now so I don't make it too clunky. But first, let's hop in the time machine and go back to a past where the Right Opinion wasn't a miserable, cynical student, and actually had a mildly positive outlook on the world. I mean, I always really hated it, but still a time where I was more readily excited at prospects. It was school. I was in what the British regard as Year 5, which for any of you fellows across the pond, or any country that doesn't use the rather peculiar British interpretation, is the 4th grade. Now Year 5 was a very interesting year for me. It was definitely the year that I had the most behavioural challenges. When I was young, I had a very hot-headed nature. I was prone to erupting unnecessarily, and it didn't make me a particularly popular person. A lot of that stress was rooted in the fact that I'd always felt excluded, and everyone had been antagonistic to me in a way. They gave me a reputation, and I, being the foolish individual, chose to conform to it. A real problem for me at that age was the fact that I had very little opportunity to release a lot of my own personal battles that were occurring inside my ever-active mind. However, one day I had an English class that I made the active decision to pay attention in for once, and in this lesson the tutor introduced us to 5 conceptual devices of poetry. Now, this was new to me, and I hope this is probably not new to you now, but if I recall correctly, I do remember them. They were alliteration, onomatopoeia, simile, metaphor, and imagery. These were new concepts to me, but as I said, they still stick in my head to this day because they were what started the foundations of my scripts, my lyrics, and my poetry. And we're going to be focusing on the poetry at first here, because poetry was the first time I was ever able to exercise those newfound devices, and I still remember it to this day, which is unique in a way, because I'm not a proactive student. I'm not someone who works to please any more than beyond exam results, and this poem was no exam. To me, it could have been another throwaway task, and yet when I wrote it, people were really impressed. The teacher gave me great praise, and my parents supposedly ran it online to check I hadn't plagiarized it. Yet to me it was another standard task, and I guess at that moment I realized I did have a rhetorical talent that I could wield, unlike many other devices. It was the first time that I managed to stem a lot of my creativity and thoughts into this new technique, and it pushed a lot of my pent-up pain and internal troubles out. And in a way, it did get better. Life felt nicer when I was venting and putting down my emotions on a page. There is something liberating about it, and turning it into something that reflects you as a person, even if not everyone approves of that person that you project. And I think I still call on these memories because they're the foundations that are still steady to this day. When you let that creativity become part of you, it's a lot harder to let it go. It's not just general knowledge anymore. I did speech and drama, and you can probably tell that with my dramatic inflections, but I never read poetry. Most of all, I never learned poetry. That's the thing. I think that true poetry isn't something that can be learned. You learn the principles and the basics, but the rest is up to you to turn it into something creative, and that creativity that such a task can drive, that is something that spills over into every written persuasion you choose to embark in. My favourite poem at that age was a Roald Dahl spin on the Little Red Riding Hood tale. When I was partaking in many activities, I was still a boy. But when I picked up that pen, I became a man. Those principles, simile, metaphor, alliteration, imagery, and onomatopoeia, particularly the first 3, they do not need introduction or explanation. If you are not privy with their definitions, you can look them up, but I'll probably have them up on screen anyway because I'm a pushover. The poem I wrote back then was about a shed. I can still remember the outdated Microsoft Word background I slapped on it when I used a background image from Google search of a shed with grass in front of it, with the characters outlining everything I put in that shed and how it represented me. And in a way, that exercise itself was unique because it helped me build a bond with the poem, with what I was writing and how I wanted to express myself as a person by integrating my own personality within it. And I guess that's the first time I felt a spark for writing, like I never had before. It was not the first time I'd written something. It was not the first time I'd written even a poem. It was the first time that I cared about a product though. It was the first thing that I ever got credit for that didn't take excessive amounts of time. It was something that came naturally to me and it felt right. From there, I have taken it in many directions. I've written movie scripts, I've written songs, and now I'm here writing YouTube videos, and it all came from writing a poem essentially. And that's because poems are the best way to pick up these techniques in many ways, because you're trying to articulate something in a structurally and expressively elevated way, and you're introduced to these concepts that mold your subconscious with enough assimilation. It's a way that has been therapeutic and beneficial to my technique and style. And so when I felt it right to return to my writing roots after years of hiatus, wanting to do a simple script for a YouTube video, it never deserted me, and it is the reason why I'm here today. There are many times when I've sought to offset pain, the feeling of helplessness in this world, which is why this channel exists in a way. But through it all, I'm glad it does, because it has helped me through those times like many other things just couldn't. And out of all the things I'm thankful for picking up a pen in year 5 and writing a poem that bonded to me as a writer and as a human being. There is so much that a simple line, a simple phrase can cause. So if you're stuck for inspiration, if you're looking for that spark to turn into a creative wildfire, do some digging, learn some devices and apply them, whether it's a poem, song or script. Give it your best shot. In my opinion, poetry is a great way to enter the writing game because you can project yourself on a page and you can use a lot of these devices. It's a brilliant way to discover oneself and to express it in new and unique approaches. I know this is going to be a bit of a transition, but the reason this video exists was for a Patreon, Licorice Pepsi, who made the very generous donation of $20 at the turn of January. I'm very grateful for her kindness, and she has been exceptionally amenable and fantastic to talk to as well. A great person all round. If you want to get involved with my Patreon, then I'll put a link at the end of the video and in the description. I know this is a slightly different video, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. One that was certainly more sentimental and a calm turn from the normal right opinion. Did you enjoy it? I'd love to hear. Until then, I'm the right opinion, and I'll see you in the next one.